Is this on Twitter or what? Okay. Oh,
yeah, on YouTube. It's on YouTube. We are live right now.
All right.
How you doing, coaches? All right, we're just loading up, getting everything. I'm about to send out the email, and I will tweet it out. I'm my own social media guru here. All right. While the coaches are coming in. So I'm here with Coach Thomas Austin, probably one of the best football players ever. We played in high school together.
Sure
I
did.
think I have a couple of injuries because of you, because you knock me on my tail a lot during practice, which only made me better.
That is flattery and it is unbecoming of you, sir. Hardest. I remember getting moved up as a freshman and tried to take you on. You came running right downhill, and I was like, okay, that's what a varsity linebacker feels like right there. But
and ever since then, we were playing chicken every practice. We were just trying to see who was going to get knocked down the most during practice.
You're just too dumb, hard-headed, throw your face into it type of guys, multiple concussions probably.
Yeah, I know, right? CTE right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's going on, coaches? Y'all just coming in? If this sounds okay, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know that it sounds all right. Share this out. We've been trying to do this podcast together for 6 months, 7 months. How long?
Yeah, probably about that long. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're here, man. So let's see. James, how you doing? Coach Johnson, how you doing? Washington, how you doing? John from Ohio. Let us know where you're watching this from. Jeff, what's going on? Coach Rock, how you doing, sir? Thumbs up. Love the channel. I love you, man. Thank you so much for saying that. That makes me happy.
Let me just say, dude, Ron, you're
all right.
big
So
time. You go live and then automatically coaches are just like on.
Well,
I would have.
Well, they knew. I've been bragging. I've been bragging about you, man.
Okay.
I've let them know that I've got a big time college coach in here,
that.
And that we're going to talk offensive line schemes and simplicity and all that. So, all right. Well, they're coming in. While they're doing this, what's going on, Coach Grant? How are you? Scott, hello from Washington State. We got people from Sacramento and Wisconsin, Toledo, Santa Cruz. I hope y'all are all safe, bobbing and weaving, shaking and shucking and jiving. The Coach Johnson. Yeah, I know where you're from, man. Remember Coach Johnson? I'm from Walhalla.
Coach
right?
Coach Patrick. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Patrick.
Yeah. Florida missing spring ball. I agree. So while they're coming in, Coach, what spring ball, like were y'all in it and then y'all had to cancel it? Did you have any time?
We got 15 practices, including the spring game, and we just finished our second week. So we had 6 practices underneath our belts, and then our guys were breaking for spring break. And that Friday was our first full scrimmage. The university announced, hey, take your stuff home with you. It's going to be a 2-week spring break, and we'll keep you up to date after that. So, and then they haven't come back since. So it was weird. We're just not. No one really expected it to last this long, I think. But we've been doing everything through Zoom and digital learning and all that stuff. So we got more than some. Now I know some schools go in February and they got all 15 in, and then other schools weren't going to get on the field till the end of April. So at least we got something in.
Okay. Dang. So you haven't heard anything. Yeah, at least you got some of them in. Now Zoomapalooza. That's what I've been calling this lockdown. It seems like everybody's doing the Zooms. How are those going?
They're pretty good. Our biggest things, I Zoom with my guys. We get 4 hours a week in our conference. Okay. Some conferences have 8 hours that we have to abide by. So, one day a week is academics. We, talk about what you guys got. I'm in constant communication with our academic advisor. All my meetings are at 9 o'clock in the morning to make sure they're up and moving and not sleeping until 2 p.m. Tuesdays, we're doing a little ball, getting some of the different linemen, older guys to teach and install. And then we can, if I have good internet, I can watch Exos through it and stream it Now there's a little bit of a lag.
Wow.
It's better than nothing. So, I mean, we would have finished our spring game April 3rd, and then they would have just been working out for April, and then in May they're gone for the month of May. So that would have been normal. But guys been doing workouts on their own, but again, they don't have access to weight rooms, so it's been a lot of body weight type stuff. And then because we don't have an athletic trainer present, we cannot mandate any of their workouts, and we can't check them. So it is all strictly voluntary. Yeah. So pros and cons to it, but they've been pretty good engagement.
Seems like y'all got like a system or something worked out. That's smart.
Yeah, we do. We have a system. So we got to have a system, or else you're flying by the seat of your pants. I need a system, for productivity and efficiency, and then the guys do well. They hear the expectations, and here's what we're going to do, and then you can. If you don't have a system, I don't think you can hold the kids accountable to it. So you give them a system, then you can hold them accountable, and they've responded pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But first week, guys were laying in bed, had their shirts off.
Yeah, I bet.
Sit up, let's go. It's like a meeting, But yeah,
I'm sure they are not very happy with you when you're making them wake up at 9:00.
Well, they're used to work. We practice at 9 during season and in the spring, so we're a morning practice team, which is awesome. And off-season workouts, they're working out at 6:30. The O-line is, so their bodies are pretty used to it. Now the skilled guys, those guys don't like getting up early. But not everyone could be an offensive lineman, Ron.
I know, right on it. Okay, so here we go. First off, we jump right in it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What's your history? All that fun stuff, man.
Yeah, I don't want to bore everyone, so I'll talk fast. Went to Cameron High School, same high school you did, Ron. I finished in 2005, so I think I was a freshman or sophomore year, senior year.
Yeah.
Recruited out of high school, went to Clemson University. Tommy Bowden was the head coach at the time. Brad Scott was my offensive line coach. I had a great relationship with Brad Scott. My senior year was 2008. My junior year was when Tommy Bowden got fired and Sweeney took over as interim. 2009. It was Sweeney's first full season as the head coach. And then I was an undrafted free agent in the NFL, went to the Vikings. So my wife and my son had been watching the draft, and with the virtual stuff, they're showing the head coach, and GM. And it's been like the game we're playing is find the guy that fired daddy. Cause I was fired I think 13 times I was cut. And so I'm seeing all these former GMs, head coaches, so was a journeyman in the NFL, was able to get through 5 training camps, played with the Vikings, the Patriots, the Texans, the Colts, and the Panthers. So had a lot of different offensive line coaches, was in some different offenses, different teaching, different terminology, was able to pick up good and bad, I think, everywhere I was. Realized my career was over in 15, got released after camp, was trying to get back in it and did a couple workouts, didn't get signed, and if you're watching football games on Sunday, and when you see a center or guard get hurt, I'm like, oh, good, all right, maybe the Falcons will call me. And then boom, they'd call you like, hey, get down here tomorrow, we're going to work you out. You go, you work out, you didn't make it, they'd send you back home, or you wouldn't make it. They had to make all their decisions Tuesday at 4:00 was their deadline. So knew that the athletics football was what I wanted to do next. Didn't know if that was coaching, high school, college, some kind of support staff role. Didn't really know what it was, but knew I wanted to be around football players. Got a call from the guys at Clemson. Chad Morris, the OC at the time, had gotten the head job at SMU and took a couple GAs with him. And so a graduate assistant spot became available. We were living in Charlotte at the time. And so my wife and 2 kids at the time, we went and GA'd, and we said, hey, we'll do it for a year and see. And after a year, really felt affirmation that this is what we wanted to do. And then 1 year turned into 4 as a GA. Wanted to stay, was learning, was a good place for my family. And then last year, we won the national championship on a Monday night. We flew back Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I got a call from Sean Elliott at Georgia State University. Came down to Atlanta. He's like, "Can you be here tomorrow by noon?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." So I came down Thursday, did an interview. He said, "Hey, thanks. We have another guy that we're interviewing, but we'll let you know over the weekend." Friday, he called me, offered me the job. Saturday, we did the national championship parade. We did a sports banquet, got to say goodbye to all the guys. Sunday night, I drove down. Monday morning, 6 a.m., I was in a team meeting. And then that day, I was recruiting for Georgia State, with a polo and a hat on, probably the same hat. Been an interesting journey, but very fortunate, and just finished year one at Georgia State, and really love the guys I work with, the guys I work for, and really enjoyed it.
That's awesome, man. Now, okay, before we get to the simplicity, what we're talking about, this thought just came. What is the biggest difference from being a GA and being like on staff? How was that?
Yeah. The biggest difference, I think, as a GA, when I was a player, like, first of all, as a player, the schedule of practice and the season was very, I thought, tedious, because it was like, all right, Monday, here we go, we're going to go to individual, and we're going to go to inside, then we're going to go to team, and I felt like it was really repetitive. As a coach, I loved it, right? Because I know what Monday looks like, I know what Tuesday looks like, I know where I need to be on Wednesday, I know what I need to do, my tips and reminders. The in-season mode is great. One of the biggest transition for me as a player to a coach was, when I was playing in the NFL, like, I knew exactly what I need to do. I need to train, I need to eat, all this kind of stuff, take treatment in my body. And as a GA, I felt like I was juggling all these hats, and so much like if you're in high school, right? You're teaching, you got family, you're trying to watch film after practice, it's all these things you got going on. You got grades, you have to, everything. So, and so I thought it would be a little bit more, in some ways, I thought it was gonna be a little more simplified. Like, I'm gonna coach, I'm gonna recruit, and I'm gonna love my kids, my players. And then I got college, I realized, as a position coach, I realized I feel like there's more things I have to juggle. So I think it was good. I learned a lot as a GA. Was fortunate to be under some really good coaches at Clemson. Robbie Caldwell was a great offensive line coach. Coach Sweeney is a great head coach. I think, there are times, I think, as a younger coach, and when you're not in charge, that maybe you oh man, that's a good. When I'm the coach, I'm gonna do that. Or, I don't know if I really want to do that when I'm the coach. You kind of cherry pick a little bit. Well, when you're the position coach, you get to make the decisions, which is fun. Like, creating a practice plan, knowing what I need to work on that each day. Like, that's a fun part. It doesn't get boring because every day is different. But you also, like, for better or worse, if your guys suck, that's on you, and so you have, obviously, you're at the end of the day, you're responsible. As a GA, you're a support guy, you help. But if the offensive line did not play well, it wasn't Thomas Austin's fault. Georgia State, if the offensive line doesn't play well, it's Thomas Austin's fault. So I think just the ownership of it, is different. The responsibility is a little bit different, but it's a blast, man. It really is.
I never thought about it like that, though. Yeah, and you're right, though. It's kind of like, as a position coach on the high school, if we lose, it's not on me. It's on the head coach.
Right. That's right.
So it's that same thing. Okay. All right. Well, coaches, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. This question right here by Coach Grant is a great segue into what we were talking about before we came on about simplifying and everything. He asked, do you guys think that football will not be affected come this spring? And y'all were thinking the same thing. And then that led you into deep dive into your data, and you came out with something mind blowing, I thought, right?
Yeah. So, every school does analytics after the season, self-scout, some people call it. And so as we were digging into the numbers for us, because every week, we're an inside zone team. We're a pin and pull team. We're an option team. Did a little bit of mid-zone RPOs, triple option principles, up tempo. but didn't do a lot of gap schemes. Well, every week, I feel like the hard thing as a coach is when you're watching your opponent and you see something that works against them, you say, we got to run this. Like this is great. How can we not run this? And so you spend a lot of time working it, and then maybe you don't feel comfortable. At the end of the day, if the play caller doesn't feel comfortable calling it, and whether that's he doesn't know it well enough, or whether he doesn't feel like your guys can perform it, or the quarterback doesn't like it, it doesn't get called. So we worked a lot of gap schemes throughout the season, and our guys aren't built for gap schemes, but we worked a lot, and I was for it. Like part of it was my idea. And so we do our data analytics at the end of the season, and we run the numbers. And 53% of our plays, almost 600 plays of our 1,048 snaps, we ran the inside zone up front. So just my guys up front were blocking inside zone. Now some of that, we have a lot of different tags on our inside zone. We have RPOs off of it, but the guys up front blocked inside zone 600 times. And so the first thing I thought was, well, crap, man, I wasted a lot of time working those gap schemes on my individual time, because my job as a position coach, I feel like, is to work and practice what the coordinator is going to call on Friday night or Saturday night. Doesn't matter what I think. It's if he's going to call it, that's what I need to rep it, because my guys need to know what they're doing. So I think one of the things about simplifying it, like you and I were talking about, Ron, is guys get really good. We weren't overwhelmed in games. You get 4 down fronts, you get bare fronts, you get odd fronts, you get 6-man pressures, 5-man pressures, 3-man stunts, loop games. And, by carrying a few plays, I think you can keep it. The more complicated the defense becomes, and our offensive line coach in Indianapolis said this, the more complicated they become on defense, the more simple we need to become on offense. Because now we can block anything that they show us. And so the guys have confidence, like we talked about. The game's played looking through a face mask. It's not how much we know, it's how much they know. Now with the coronavirus, I think there's a good chance that the preseason is going to be abbreviated. Now I don't know how much, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to have all summer with their kids, high school, college, pros. And so, one tendency, I think, is you have extra time, and we're all trying to get better. We're all trying to learn. If you're not, you're getting passed up. This is one of those opportunities where you and I are trying to learn, and those coaches who are watching. And so one of the things we said as a staff is, man, if we see something good that we want to add, that's great. But what are we going to take out? Because you can't do it all, and so that's one thing we're always pushing back on is. And that's where I think as a staff, you have to have camaraderie, and you don't need a bunch of yes men. Coach Sweeney used to always say, you can disagree, but don't be disagreeable, right? So in closed doors, we're going to have discussions. We're going to throw ideas out there, and then we're going to agree on it, and we're going to go out there, and we're all going to be a unified front with the kids. And so that's one thing I think is tough, and it's hard to always got to. You're always fighting that tendency to do more, but let's do what we do, and let's do it better. Let's teach the fundamentals, the details better, so that's something that we believe in at Georgia State,
And it shows, because y'all had a really successful year this year.
We did, man. Yeah, it was a fun year. We beat Tennessee to start the season out, and won two games the year before, and we're really rolling as a team, 6-2. We're having a lot of success, and then got plagued with injuries. Quarterback tore his ACL, and played the last 5 games with a torn ACL, which was incredible.
That's baller.
Inside linebacker, 2 safeties, a boundary receiver, slot receiver, all out with knee injuries or of some sort, ankle injuries. So, like in the last game of the season, we had our 4 team captains at the beginning of the year. 2 of them were on crutches, and one of them has a torn ACL. 4 guys. Five healthy knees and 8 guys. So, but yeah, great year, and I think that's part of it is the kids bought into what we're doing, and they were able to play fast and execute.
Now you say play fast. Are you a big fan? Were you always a big fan? I know you came from Clemson, and they went fast. Were you always a big fan of tempo, or did you slowly learn to love it? Or
yeah, I think I learned a lot. I mean, when I was playing, we did tempo.
No.
And then I started when I was a rookie with the Patriots. We had different tempos, and one of the things that the reason they've had so much success. I mean, Brady could call any play at the line of scrimmage in a word or two. I mean, that's when you watch him, you watch Manning, Breeze, those guys are making. They're blocking. There's different offensive schemes. I was in a scheme where it was a huddle and you called 3 plays in the huddle. It was your alert.
Oh, God.
So you had to remember 3 plays. And I'll never forget. We were struggling with it. This is in Indianapolis. Pep Hamilton's the OC, and he's like, I don't understand. You guys can't do this. We did this at Stanford. And we're like, well, there you go. None of us want to see it. He's a quarterback. So but that was a scheme, and that idea was the perfect play. You counted numbers. If you didn't like, you count your number, which is what RPOs are, right? I mean, you're looking at the box, and what do you want to do? You want to run to the right, you want to run to the left. You don't like it, throw the ball. And so tempo, the Patriots did tempo, and we practiced. When our conditioning in practice was just, I don't know if you call it NASCAR or something. It was as fast as you can go, as many plays as you can go. And it was just it was like a slosh fest. The linemen up there just like standing there, both offense and defensive guys. So got to Clemson, and Chad Morris was a tempo guy, and philosophically, his philosophy was, we're going to go as fast as we can. You're not going to have the perfect play call every time, but the more snaps you get, the better chance you have of scoring points, right? So their goal was 80 points, 80 snaps a game. Over time, and when we won the national championship against Alabama the first time in Tampa, we ran 101 snaps against Alabama. And they're two were all playing in the NFL. And there's one clip where the 2 linemen just rolling the guy out of there. I mean, just road grading him on the line of scrimmage. And so I was like, man, tempo is an equalizer. And so we did that at Georgia State, and our guys bought into that, and it was a mindset. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had an offensive lineman that played. He was on punt team as well. He played 117 snaps in one game. So we had a couple of games where we had 101 snaps. Now, I think you can be tempo and as fast as you can. What Clemson has kind of morphed to is they're hitting that play count, but a lot of it's because they're efficient on third down. So I think a couple of the things that come up for offensive line coaches and players, I think is I wasn't a fan on tempo when it was clap or there was no kind of alert or anything for the cadence with the offensive line, and you didn't know when the ball was going to get snapped, and so you'd be making a out call or something, or communication would happen, and these guys would go one way, those guys would go the other way. So I think there's challenges that you have to work through. You got to work drills, I think, too, where guys on defense are just standing around and you're running your tracks, because that's different.
That's smart.
So those are, but so I think it's an equalizer, because if I mean, almost everything you do in practice, it benefits is skewed to the defense, right? Yeah. One-on-one pass rush, everyone knows you're throwing the ball, right? Inside run, everyone knows you're running the ball, and there's about 15 defensive guys there, including the defensive
coordinator. Lying, man.
Middle linebacker, right? So sorry if I have any defensive guys on here. So and then you go to team and you go to scrimmage, and it's equal, and so it happens in football too, where the defensive linemen are more athletic than the offensive linemen, and so I've seen inferior offensive linemen block over the course of a game superior defensive linemen, because they're in better shape, better conditioning, they know what they're doing, they play fast, and they wear people down. So yeah, we're big fans of it. We had a lot of success doing it, and I think you can run RPOs in an up-tempo offense and play fast and give the quarterback the keys and let him go, and have a lot of success with it.
I completely agree. Now, I'm always curious about communicating during up-tempo, hurry up, with the coaches on staff during game day. Mm-hmm. So without diving too much into it, are there people in the box telling, how does the communication go? Because I'm always trying to get more efficient at that. And that's why I love talking to you, because you're a smart dude. You've been around. You maybe some tips to help coaches if they're trying to go fast on game day.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we try to do is every coach has an assignment for that. I mean, what am I watching? Am I watching point of attack? If you're a guy that does the first 9, right, or first 18. Okay, if you know you're running a speed motion in your first 9 because you want to see how the defense reacts because you have a play action off of it, well, then you need to have somebody who's watching the safety rotation or how the linebackers bump on that speed motion, right? If you're a zone read team, I know there's like I've talked to some like teams that run the stretch, right? They have a guy that all he does is watch the backside defensive end. And his job is to tell the coach when, hey, we need to run the boot, or hey, we need the quarterback needs to pull it, because that's the guy running it down. So I think part of it is having utilizing your coaches. I mean, it doesn't take a great coach to say, hey, that guy's squeezing it on the backside, right? So I think if you give people jobs and empower them, they're going to step up to that and take ownership of that. You got to know kind of how many coaches you have and what you can do. I mean, Clemson, there's 1,000 people in that box. Not anymore. They changed the rules, but you have 1,000 people on staff, right? We're Georgia State. We have we have 5 offensive coaches. We have 2 GAs, and we have our head coach who is an offensive guy. So, you got to use the personnel you have. So, yeah, I mean, I think part of the tempo, part of going fast is, and I think part of the tempo as well is that you have built-in answers in what you call, right? So whether you're a guy that teaches field and boundary reads 1 high, 2 high, whether you're a guy that just teaches grass reads, whether whatever it is, you tell the quarterback to block the box. I think one way you can play fast is giving the quarterback easy key reads, letting him go. And then I think practically you can't dog cuss the kid if he hands it off when maybe he should have pulled it, or he pulls it when he should have handed it off. I mean, you got to make a full speed decision. You got to play fast, and it's not always going to be perfect. And so if the kids are scared of making mistakes, they're going to play a little bit slower. So, I think that's one thing for us is making sure all your coaches know what they're doing, what they're looking at, because you don't want everyone looking at the same thing, and then it doesn't help. So, yeah, that's one way we do it.
Okay. All right. I like that. So just having depending on what scheme you're doing, have a coach just look at one thing. I like that about the zone read, read the end or read this linebacker to see if they're scrape exchanging. So maybe that's when you change it up for on a second level RPO or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, or, if you're, who is the unblocked guy in a run game standpoint, who's the unblocked guy making the tackle, right? Do we MA and turn the guy loose or get whipped, or is the unblocked safety standing there at 3 yards and you're ramming your head against the wall? Well, that's on us, so yeah, and I've been on staffs where if you were first 9, you would go through the first 9 as a staff and say, okay, on this play right here, here's what I want you to look at. See how they do.
That's smart.
On the second play, we're doing this. Let's see, based off of what we've seen on film, we think they're going to play it this way. We just need to verify it. Is that true or not? First third down. Okay. Are they going to sub? When do they sub? Are they going to stay in 4 down? Are they going to sub to the raw package? And giving people those responsibilities, because you can't do it all as the OC, right? It's just too much to take care of. And you also you're coaching your quarterback in between drives, or whatever. Now, and we don't have pictures and surfaces and still images on the sideline like I know some high schools can do. So, we have to be able to communicate that on the sideline effectively.
Oh wow, y'all didn't see we have that, but huddle if you're watching, which I know you're not, huddle sideline would crap out 3/4 of the time.
Yeah,
when we were using it.
They tried to pass it a few years ago. And I don't think there was enough support from some of the smaller schools because you would have to have the stadium wired. I mean, just anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it hasn't happened. NFL has it, high school has it, college doesn't.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got a good question from Coach Mike. He wants to know, what characteristics do you look for in a kid when recruiting him as an offensive lineman?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing we look at as offensive lineman coaches is a guy mean, nasty, and blocks, and so, I watch kids all the time that are super athletic, that are super long, that have great feet, but you don't really see them finish blocks. And so to me, that's something I think you can cultivate and coach.
Now, what does that mean, finish blocks, for those coaches that don't know? What do you mean by?
Yeah, so I mean, that's not just a pancake or a knockdown, right? So that's if you're on pass pro, you're staying bent in your hips. You're locking that guy. You're mirroring that defender. The ball's thrown downfield. You're making an adjustment going down. You're breaking on the ball. If you're engaged in a defensive lineman, you don't let him slip off late and get his arm in the tackle, right? So sustaining your block, to the whistle. So not just not just pancakes, but finishing blocks. Because if a kid has that, he can, I think, overcome a lot of deficiencies, athletic deficiencies. Every year there's NFL guys that are drafted in the first round that never pan out. They're super athletic kids, but that now sometimes you can't always tell, because you might have a kid that plays both ways and he's on the field for the whole 48 minutes in a high school game. And so, you got to kind of understand the context. But you want to see a kid, we play, we're a zone scheme offense. And so we like guys that can run and move and bend, and that are athletic, and so, if you have those two things, and I don't get caught up, we don't get caught up in length. We don't get caught up in height as much. The weight can be added. Obviously there's certain things you can't play offensive line at Division I level at 240 pounds, right? So it does matter. Just because you're 300 pounds isn't the end all be all.
Okay. And what's a way for coaches to get their kid's name out? I have a lot of coaches that ask me, hey, could you help me promote my kid? Is there something, like one tip that you can give coaches to help get their kids' names out there?
Well, the good thing about football is recruiting still goes through the high school coach. Unlike, some other sports where there's AAU
Basketball
tournaments. Slam basketball. I think as much as we can keep third parties out of it. Now, there's certain schools have recruiting coordinators, and some of those are third party guys now. And the great thing now, I think, some of those camps, became rivals camps, and some of those showcases have become more prevalent. Now, there certainly could be a benefit to that, but when you and I played, literally our coaches sent a VHS.
That's it. Yeah.
You're cutting, splicing film, right? And depending on your coach to do it when he has a full schedule. So now you can type in any prospect's name in Huddle, and he has a highlight tape. And so there's a better opportunity for kids to be exposed. The biggest thing, I would say, if you're a coach, I would put the best plays at the beginning of it. I've watched highlight tapes, chronological, and the kid's gotten a whole lot better. Well, I'm probably not going to watch 8 minutes of this Huddle tape. If I'm watching 30 offensive linemen in one day, I'm not going to watch it,
So what's the ideal time? Because that's a huge one right there for a highlight. Like how?
It depends. I think the no doubt guys that you pull on tape, you're like, yep, yeah, he's a dude. He can play. You can tell in a couple clips. But I think I view it through the lens of, like, if this were my film, how long would I want the coach to watch it? Like, I wouldn't want a guy just to judge me off of one or two clips, but I think, like, you can put a great clip on there and, like, that gets someone's attention, like, oh man, that was a good clip. I think the more you can show the kid doing, I think I think the more you can show the kid doing, not all just run block and not all just pass block, and not just, if he's a dual threat kid, you want to see him run and throw, some of those kids, because we don't get caught up in stats. I don't know how many tackles a kid has. You want to watch the kid, and you want to see effort. If you got any great effort plays, I think those are great to include. But I think when a coach, the high school coach is the first person we call. Obviously, I know you're beating a dead horse, but we tell the kids all the time, take care of the academics, take care of the academics. Yes. I think I would encourage coaches to, like North Carolina, for instance, all their juniors take the ACT like in February. I think if you can get a test score in the spring of the junior year, because right now the biggest for us, some schools are offering off of freshmen and sophomores, but most schools are evaluating off that junior film. If a kid has a test score and it's a good test score, the GPA can get there, right? Kids can make up classes, kids can take summer school classes. And so if the kid has a decent test score, there's much more likely chance that you can recruit him. If the kid has a low, a low GPA and a low test score, or doesn't have a test score, it's a little bit more of a wild card. So I think one thing coaches can do is encourage their kids to take the test, because if they have to take it the fall of their senior year, do you really want to go take a test on a Saturday morning after you just played and went out with
Not at all.
So I think that encourage them to have a huddle, highlight tape, prioritize the best place first. I think coaches that have a prospect sheet that they can send via email or text in a page or so is really helpful. To have that on a hard format if a coach walks in, but then also send it electronically is helpful. And be available, for the coach to ask questions. I think, if you're a school that, has somebody in the academic side of it that understands the eligibility center and the academic requirements and all of that, I think that expedites the process and makes it easier. So I think those, but and then I think also one thing I would say is prioritizing the camps that your kids go to. You can't go to every summer camp, and I understand that there are coaches who are concerned about their players going and getting hurt at those camps. I get that too. But I think if I were a coach and I had a kid and I kind of know, okay, this guy's he's probably an FCS kid. Well, I'd encourage him to, hey, go pick go to your dream school. Go to that school, see how you measure up, and pick an FCS school, and then pick maybe a D2 school. Go to those three schools so the kid understands kind of where he stacks up. I would be wary of mega camps that get too big and there's not enough. It's just, I would want to know who is running the camp and who is profiting from the camp. So if it's just a moneymaker and there's 1,000 kids there and you can't evaluate, but then some of these mega camps can be great because coaches from all over the country can get there and evaluate a large amount of kids in a short period of time. So it can be good exposure. So I hope that answers it.
It did. I wrote it down, man. I wrote it down because I'm always looking.
Yeah.
And South Carolina, I know we do the same thing with the SAT, SAT and ACT. They get to choose one of them for free, and it's in their junior year. But I wasn't even thinking about not having them do it in their senior year, because you're absolutely right. Who wants to do that?
Right. Now, and if you have one, you can continue to take it, right, and super score it. So you don't hurt yourself by taking it multiple times. Unless you're one of those kids that takes it takes it and gets it 12, and the next time you take it, you make it 24. Then you're like, something's not right, But taking it multiple times, and some kids, I would take both of them because some kids are better at one test than the other, Did
you take both?
No, I just took the SAT. I mean, we had the SAT training classes. Remember that guy that came in there? I wasn't a science guy, so I didn't take the ACT,
Okay. I just knew you were really incredibly smart. A lot smarter than me, man.
Well, that might be true, but.
All right. Coach Jones, I don't know if you know this, probably not. Coach Jones is from Camden. He's got the trifecta. He lives in Camden. He teaches at Lugoff, and he coaches at North Central.
Wow.
Yeah. So he wants to know, how would you get a young guy to buy in to be more physical at the high school level?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that we try to do is teaching kids how to compete. So what kind of drills are you doing that foster competition, whether it's a tug of war, whether it's a shuttle run, I think accountability groups within your team that have a point system that forces kids to be leaders and they compete against each other, I think is good. And I think it's good when you can maybe deduct points for kids that are late or do bad academically or whatever. I think those things can be good. So I think teaching kids to compete is huge. And then one thing we try to do in practice, I mean, it's hard for me because I'm trying to teach on every rep, right? Somebody, either good or bad. But I had to learn a couple games in that I need to coach on the whistle and practice on every individual drill we do. So I'm running my feet, I'm bringing my hips underneath me to the whistle, right? So not just until they stop. And so one thing,
What made you that's a great coaching point. What made you decide to start doing that?
well, we weren't finishing blocks the way I thought we should have. And we were getting in good position and then stopping our feet. Well, and then I had to realize, I mean, we all talk about effort, but am I grading effort? Am I giving kids feedback on effort? Right. I mean, again, it has to be tangible and measurable for the kids to know. Again, you got to have a structure to keep them accountable. And so it's one thing for me just to tell them. So giving them programming them to play through the whistle just came as a result of we weren't finishing blocks. And so we said, all right, boys, every drill we do an individual, we're going through the whistle. And I might get a few less reps doing it, but I'm gonna work through the whistle. When we have certain periods in practice where it's kind of a perfect play, you run the play, you stop, you teach it, you correct it, and then there are other periods of practice we have as a tempo team. It's just how fast can we go? And I'm not coaching anything except tempo, get to the ball, and we'll coach it up on film tomorrow. So I think part of finishing and toughness is the mental side of it, is getting those kids to work. And I mean, that's, the biggest thing is you got to increase kids' workload from wherever they are when they get to you to where you want them to be. You've got to help them increase the workload. I mean, the job of a coach, right, is to take a kid where he doesn't think he can go on his own. And so one of the things I think you got to do is help teach those kids how to finish. And I think if you're trying to work to finish, like offensive line, the knockdowns, the pancakes are going to come. Because as an offensive line guy, it's like I get graded for what, there's not many things I get statistics for. Knockdown blocks is like the one thing, right? I mean, I'm not catching a ball, I'm not running, but what I realized was, okay, I've been around guys that all they wanted to know was how many knockdown blocks they had. They didn't care as much if they had MAs or if they had a low grade. And so it doesn't matter if the NFL teams that are watching college kids, they don't care about how many knockdowns they have. They want to know if they're covering people up and they're finishing blocks. And so, but that'll come. And I think once a kid starts finishing blocks and feeling that, I think it's a lot of fun. And when you dominate somebody else, I think it gets kids to want to do it again. And then celebrating it when they do, I think. And so I think you can certainly cultivate it. But I've been around kids that it just doesn't matter what you do, they don't want to put their face in there, That's hard sometimes.
It is. If they don't bite as a pup, they won't bite as an adult. I think Coach Bonneville said that one time, and it's always stuck with me.
Yeah. Coach Bonneville said a lot of things.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, if you won't, you won't. But I think what are we doing to help foster it and create that competition, and the desire to finish.
I love that through the whistle, because I have found that my kids will just stop, and we're always yelling as coaches, play through the whistle. But how do you get them to play through the whistle?
Right.
It's in practice. And
Right.
if you don't have a whistle and you're not enforcing that, then you're at fault as a coach.
Yeah, that's right. It's just, you got to build muscle memory. It's like anything we do, right? You just got to build muscle memory. And I think I'll start coaching or teaching and the kid will stop. Like, what is he saying? Where it's like, go through the whistle, we'll adjust, we'll coach it up.
Coach Paz says he's a youth coach and he has kids that celebrate pancake blocks and sacks or knockdowns as the pour imaginary syrup on the guy.
Well, there's also, I saw somewhere, high school coach, maybe in Georgia, who literally has a holster
with syrup.
Lime with syrup on it, and he's like, they take a shot of it. I mean, it's just like, is that kind of cheesy? Yeah, but like those kids take pride in it.
Love it.
Like a rallying call. I mean, it's just, if you sell it and the kids buy into it, I mean, it's going to be a good thing. So what is it for your guys? I mean, that's one thing I did this year because there were too many. All we cared about was knockdown blocks. There were other plays where we weren't finishing blocks. So I started calculating I thought was a finished block, which was a sustained block through the whistle. And then I deducted blocks where I didn't think they finished. And so whatever positive they had, I did that many knockdowns on I mean, I did that many up downs on Monday, and the guys circled around me, and they called them out, and so but that was something fun that they like to do. So now, like, they would come off the sideline during the game, like, "Oh, coach, you're gonna do an up down for that. I just finished that plot," you know. So just something like that I think, the kids, not just kind of that old, carrot versus a stick. I mean, I think if you make it fun for the kids, they can buy into it. They'll do it.
Yeah, and Coach Correct says they have pancake decals for their O-line to put on their helmets.
I like it. Yeah.
Which I would love to see that, man. I've never seen that.
Oh yeah, used to, as long as they're still, I used to do the stickers, at Clemson, and it was like, it was one of my jobs at GA. I had to calculate it, and it'd be like, this wide receiver played like 7 snaps, right? But he scored a touchdown. And he had like 17 paws, and this lineman that played 89 snaps got like 1 paw. I'm like, what the heck? This is unfair. So stuff like that. I mean, because it was the same thing. I think you can do similar things like that if you're trying to make an emphasis on special teams and you want kids to buy into special teams. You got to do something to kind of celebrate it, make a team award. Or I like the decals. Now our head coach is an old school guy. He's like, yeah, we don't need decals. Just do your job.
Yeah, he is, man.
I don't know if we get that done here, but that's a good idea. I like that.
That is. Was that your impression of him? Because that was really good.
Yeah, that was mine. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm always curious about this because in the offseason, high school coaches, we go and we study offenses in college and try to, we look at you and we're like, hey, Georgia State is doing amazing things. I'm going to break down their games. I'm going to pad their games. Mm-hmm. I'm sure y'all do the same thing. Are y'all looking at other colleges, like what they're doing, or do y'all go up a level and are looking at NFL teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the time of the year. In season, in season, we normally, I usually just watch the opponent film that week in season. So, one of the things I had, Clyde Christensen, he's a quarterbacks coach now with the Bucks, but he was at Indianapolis, and he was a Tony Dungy guy. He was a quarterback for Tony Dungy, quarterback coach for Tony Dungy. And like, he never went above a 400 play breakdown. Like, it didn't matter who they were playing, because he's like, I can get what data I need from 400 plays. If I go above that, I'm going to start overthinking it. I'm going to reinvent the wheel. So he kind of kept it in a manageable. I know there are guys that, like, they're going to watch these 5 extra teams every single week, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would watch 1 or 2 other college teams, that maybe I liked. I like the way Ohio State runs the football, right? So I would randomly, maybe it was the bye week, I'd buzz through 3 or 4 games. I'd watch Clemson because I was inside zone guys. I watched other schools that maybe had creative run, stuff. LSU did obviously some great things. So we would watch. I mean, I've actually been watching huddle film, and I'm like, oh man, did you see that play? That was awesome. We need to. What was that? Back it up. We need to do that play. So yeah, I mean, the NFL game's a little bit different. There's a lot of man-to-man matchups. I think there's some good. You can get some good stuff, short yardage, low red zone type stuff. But a lot of that league is just that dude making a play. I'm not trying to like act like they're not good coaches. They are. I mean, but Kansas City, for instance, they do some phenomenal stuff, right? So a lot of that stuff that we do is more of an off-season project or maybe a bye week project. Hey, let's watch Kansas City. Hey, we like a running quarterback. Let's watch, Lamar Jackson and see the triple option stuff they do. Buffalo has a good athletic quarterback. So yeah, I mean, I think as part of the off-season, we'll break up and hey, watch these 10 games of this team. You watch those 10 games. During season, I don't feel like I have the time to do that as much as I'd like to, because that's easy. That's the fun part. I like sitting there watching film, but with everything else, managing everything else, I don't know if I always have as much time as I'd like.
Okay. Now I'm curious, what was the big leap from high school to college, and then what was the big leap for you from college to the professional? I've always wanted to ask you that question.
As a player.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, in high school, I wasn't I mean, I was a 3-star guy, whatever those mean. I wasn't a highly recruited. I had 5 or 6 offers. So like I remember getting to
Yeah, I
Clemson.
wasn't highly recruited, but I had 5 or 6 D1 offers.
I mean, yeah, I mean, some of these kids have like 30 offers now. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten recruited.
I know.
Um, and so, I remember coming in being like, I knew I had guys that came like, yeah, I'm be here for 3 years. I'm gonna go to the NFL, and I was like, I just want to play. I want to start. Like I just didn't know. I think, player coaches, it's confidence, and so once probably just the scheme is different wherever you go. And then sometimes it can be a little more complicated. So learning it as much as you can learn that. And when you learn it, I think the biggest adjustment for me at college was the time management aspect of it, because your day is so structured, and everything's spoken for, that it's managing your time well, taking care of your body. And so once you learn the system, then so there's a physical aspect of it. I think kids are a little bit more prepared now. The weight programs in high school are better. The weight rooms are better. I don't remember doing a lot of team activities in the summer. I don't know. Did we do skills and drills in the summer and 7-on-7 camps?
7-on-7 we did. I'm not OL. There wasn't that many
There's no
OL
OL.
at all.
I remember working out, and so I think kids are a little bit more farther along developmentally than we were. So the physical aspect, the mental aspect of it, but then once you learn to play, you're like, oh, okay, I can play in this on this level. The NFL is just the speed and the strength. I mean, everyone's pretty strong. I mean, like you're all pretty strong when you get your fourth or fifth year in college. You've developed a lot of strength. The guys that are playing for 8 years in the NFL aren't any stronger than the 23-year-olds probably. Now I think functional strength is a little bit different, but the way those guys take care of their bodies was a big adjustment. Like my body is now my job. When you're 18 or 19, you can treat your body like crap and you can go do it again tomorrow. In the NFL, it was, everything took longer to recover. The scheme was more complex. But then again, once you got that confidence that you could play in that level, you could play. And so I think the speed of that game is, and just how fast everything moves is, it's unbelievable.
All right. I was going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask that in a little bit. You're talking about drills and being comfortable playing and building up. We have a question from Coach Flynn. He wants to know, what's a drill or something very important that you think middle school offensive linemen should have? So like, what should middle school offensive linemen have to help them be successful in high school?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think I've learned in the last, 5 or 10 years, I think we always talk about the low pads win, right? Lowest man wins. Mm-hmm. I would kind of tweak that a little bit and say, I think it's the low hips win. And that, so when you're talking about O-line and D-line play, the guy that usually has the lower hips and lower center of gravity, all things are equal, that guy is going to win the block. Now you can have low hips and give up 100 pounds in weight, but all things equal, the low hips win. And so one thing I think, because I didn't really lift weights much until like my 8th and 9th grade year, I think. And again, that's I would think teaching kids to bend and move their feet and change direction, because I think the strength you can add the strength. And so I would teach safe. The more you can train on your feet, I think the more you can do full body exercises, so not just bench press, but maybe it's overhead press where you're standing on your feet. Obviously you can teach cleans to middle school kids, lightweight, the movements. It doesn't always have to be a back squat. It can be a front squat. It could be a pistol squat, so I think, if you see kids that learn how to bend at a younger age, you can add the strength to those guys. And then for us, when I get kids in college, a lot of times it's teaching them to change direction, be explosive, get in and out of their movements. I would focus on those two things, that's I mean, I think those.
Okay.
Because I think those two things you can do no matter what kind of facility you have, or how you can work on those types of things.
Okay. I like that. Now, I appreciate you coming on, man. We're closing in on an hour. You were the man, but to close it out, I just wanted to ask, and you can tell me no or anything. Do you have an NFL story? Like something is like, oh crap, I am in the NFL now. I'm in the big leagues. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple that most of them are a little bit more embarrassing. I mean, I think one of the things people want to, like, when they hear I play with the Patriots, they want to be like, "Were you with Tom Brady?" I said, "Yeah, I was Tom Brady." "Oh, tell me about Tom Brady." I said, "Well, I got a story for you." So I was with the Patriots. I was on practice squad when I got there. I'd been there for about a week and a half. Super complicated offense to learn. Once you learn it, the rules, the principles make sense. I told you that the guy would card things you wouldn't see on practice but if you had a good system and rules, you could block whatever. So once you learned it, it was great. But I've been there for like a week and a half, and I'm just a practice squad guy. One thing is that Tom Brady, one of the most competitive guys I've been around. And if you like, one of the things that the first thing I noticed for him was like the ball never touched the ground. Like in a year there, I think I probably saw him throw 2 or 3 bad, like seriously, I'm not exaggerating, 2 or 3 bad passes. Like if the ball's low, it's because he's throwing it low.
Mm-hmm.
If high, he's throwing it high to where only the receiver could get it, right? And so if a guy dropped the ball, he would get pissed. And he'd rip it. I mean, he's like having a coach. He talked like he was the coach, and he was, And Billy O'Brien was the OC. I mean, he ran the show, but like, he would get on people. And so we ended, I think, every practice with a 2-minute drill. Something like 75% of NFL games end in a 2-minute drill of some sort. Either you're defending it or you're.
Oh wow! Yeah,
it's crazy. Halftime and end of games. It's like 3/4 of games, 2-minute drill situations. So we repped it every single day. I've been there for a week and a half. I don't know what I'm doing. The starting guard blows his cleat out, like the heel came out, and the offensive line coach was Dante Scarnecchia. I call him Scar, drill sergeant, 5'6", 5'7", mean as a snake, unbelievable offensive line coach. He's like, "Austin, get in there." So I go in there. It was a stoppage in play, so I go in the huddle, and Brady gives the play so fast. I have no idea. Matt Light is the left tackle. Dan Copeland was the center. Like, "Hey, just block him." And I was all right. I'll look over there. Was Vince Wilfork, right? Who's listed at 325 pounds, but he was not 325 pounds. So I'm like, I'm going to jump set him. I'm going to get my hands on him, try to stop his momentum. I freaking jump set him, and he dropped. I mean, I teach the hop on the bull to stop the bull instead of walking back hop. Well, I hop all the way to Brady and stepped on his foot, and he throws an interception. And he's like, he starts dog cussing and yelling at me, but he doesn't even know my name. Even though we have the same first name, he doesn't know my name, and he's yelling. I was like, practice ends, we throw an interception. He's pissed. I came home. My wife, I was like, "Hey, you can pack our bags up, because if Brady's hurt, if I step on his foot and hurt his foot, we're at it. Like, I'm getting fired." I mean, they tell defensive guys not to touch the quarterback.
Yeah.
You're an offensive guy, and you step on his foot and he breaks a toe. I mean, you're gone. So, to Tom's credit, like the next day, he made a point, like, because I saw him coming down the hallway, and I was like ducking my eyes. He's like, "Hey, Thomas, how you doing?" Like, very, very personable. It was his way, of apologizing.
Yeah.
It was, but that was just who he was. I mean, he's just type of guy. But thankfully, I didn't get cut. I mean, I stuck around for. Well, I got cut later. But that was kind of oh man, Vince Wilfork is a man, and I don't know if I can block this guy.
Well, okay, so he is a GOAT. Like, what do you do? Because you've been around. I'm sure Clemson and Alabama, they kind of canceled each other out. But if I am going up against a dude that's better than me, like, what would you tell me?
Tempo, wear him down. No, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, in some ways, it's similar to like when I get a freshman who comes on campus and he's physically not developed enough to block the fifth-year senior. It's, you teach the technique and the fundamentals, and then the strength comes. I mean, you just knew. I mean, you got into a game. First preseason game we're playing. They got freaking the Duncan Sioux over there, and you're just like, all right. I just hope the number of times I have to pass block him one-on-one is not very many times. Yeah, I mean, you got to know, you got to have a plan for those kinds of guys going into it. If he's a DN, you're going to chip him. You're going to, offensive lineman. If I was going to, as soon as I could, I was going to cut him and chop him up, and because those guys don't want to get cut. Their knees are too valuable for that, and so. Now in practice, there was not much you could do about it. I mean, it's just like we went to my second year when I went to camp. We also signed. I'm drawing a blank. Who was the defensive tackle for the Redskins? Got paid $100 million from Hartsville, South Carolina. Albert Haynes.
Yes.
We had Albert Hainsworth and we had Vince Wilfork. Okay, both listed at 325. Both weighed in at 370 plus. Okay, and we did half line drill, and you had Vince on one side and Hainsworth on the other side. Well, in that drill, if they didn't want to be blocked, they weren't going to be blocked by one person who weighed 305 pounds, and so you just tried to work your technique and fundamentals is good. And our offensive line coach was great. Was because in one-on-one pass pro, for instance, he said, listen, the object of this drill is not to win every rep. It's urgency out of my set, strike with my hands, put my body in front of the bus and die a slow death. That's what he used to say. Die a slow death, right? I died many a slow death. But work you can coach up the fundamentals. What happens, and it happens to my guys too, is they get in there, they want headbutt, they want to do all kinds of crazy stuff that doesn't help you get better. So I think working the fundamentals and like, hey man, listen, that guy's getting paid a lot of money. He's really good at what he does. I think, you and I kind of talk about this, like playing Madden, like sometimes that helps you understand what your quarterback is dealing with. Like,
yeah,
not having these crazy, unrealistic expectations that the kid's going to, but you don't want to block them. I mean, there were times in that guy's career you weren't going to block him. You cut him and screened him and bammed him and all kinds of stuff and tried to wear him down.
And they're all Pro Bowls for a reason.
That's right. There's not many of those human beings walking around.
No, and you had to go up against them.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. One time I was trying to hop him on a one-on-one pass rush, and he fell right on top of me. I thought I ripped my pelvis out of place. Like the whole offensive team was like, oh, it was one of those deals. Everyone stopped. I thought I was like seriously injured. Thankfully, I wasn't, but it felt like I was.
You were feeling it in the morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I put my body in front of the bus.
Died a slow death.
Die a slow death. That was a faster death than some, but that's still a principle. If the guy is running you over, it's harder for him to sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
With the guy, he can get there a lot faster. So you just gotta swallow your pride and take one
for the team, man.
Team, So yeah.
All right. Well, Thomas, thank you so much, man. This has been a blast. I appreciate it. Whenever there's another global pandemic, we're gonna I would love for you to come back on and talk some more ball.
Back on. Hopefully, it's not when there's a global pandemic.
Exactly. All right, coaches. Thank you all so much for being with us. Please be safe. Wash your hands. Wash your butt. And until next time, let's continue to master the spread, score points, and have fun. I will talk to y'all later.